So handles TanozTV, TainozTV on all platforms, Tainozz on YouTube. I am right now just working on it's more kind of intertwining like my own faith and kind of personal development that I've been going through the last year or two, and just urging people to follow their um I call it I read what's the book? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the book. I read this book, talks about people's personal legends and how God gave us each a personal legend to find and
Hmm.
pursue. And we forget about our personal legend as we are growing and go through all these distractions and stuff. So my job is to awaken people's personal legends. And I'm doing that through gaming. I'm doing that through um reminding people what their first love was before all of the world came to their doorstep. And so that's what I'll be
Hmm.
working on, and we're starting off with Pokemon.
Dude, that's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I actually really, really like that. Oh, Stu, thanks so much for coming on, joining, and spending some time with us, dude. Actually, this is like a super enjoyable conversation. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Faith Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Burtram, and here we talk about people making differences in the Christian world, from leaders, thought leaders, cultural people working through all sorts of different things having to do with the American church and beyond. And of course, I am your faithful host on the Faithful Politics podcast. Happens here on the same channel. So like, subscribe, do the stuff that hacks the algorithm, because we need to get this good stuff out, because you're going to like and subscribe to the thing about weird cats. And I know the stuff my kids watch, and the kids scream and say all sorts of stupid stuff. And it's like, come on, dude. Subscribe to something good. And I have a treat today. I'm be able to talk with two friends, but one you guys know is our political host, Will Wright from the Faithful Politics podcast. Good to see you on the Faith Roundtable, Will.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how I ended up here, but yeah, I'm just here for quality control purposes.
He's here for quality control purposes. And you know, dude, it's good to see you have some faith still, that you're willing to come on an actual Christian podcast. So thanks, Will.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And today we're actually super excited to have our friend and someone who has been on TikTok, had large followings, been in the gaming world for a long time. Absolutely. My man, Stewart Tavares. Stewart, it's good to see you coming on here to talk about the gaming world and how that intersects with faith and politics today here, dude. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
And well, I'm well. Thank you for having me. And just like Will, I am here so I don't get fined. Good morning to everyone.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, dude. So you're calling us from a hotel. You in sunny Florida today? I heard.
Sunny Florida. The lighting is mad warm. I look orange, and I apologize for that. Normally, I'd have my own setup, but hey, we improvise here.
We
Hey,
do, and you have a
orange is
freaking
the new
sweet
black.
setup.
Orange is the new black. Literally.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Literally,
So,
yep.
man, I love that. So, yeah. So, talk a little bit, dude. So, about your gaming, how you got into gaming, and how it's kind of changed your life, and what's it like to be a professional / semi-professional gamer.
Well, it's not so much that I'm a professional gamer. I'm more so a professional content creator. So the way that intersects is I'm decent at the game. I'm not the greatest at the game. I'm great at telling the stories about the game. And that's the big difference that I learned along creating content. So I started off much like a bunch of my friends did, pandemic. You had that first month of us being locked down, and that kind of gave us time to be able to finally look into, hey, what other skills do I have? What other things can I learn? And believe it or not, creating content actually got me into having a job where now I'm a full-time editor and I'm finally out of sales for the first time in half my life.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I started off with, little stupid TikTok posts, me dancing with games and things like that, and then pivoted over to more telling stories about my time in Call of Duty Warzone. And now I'm working on a series on kind of revisiting childhood games so I can connect with other people and kind of wake up their own self-interest.
So, like with the revisiting childhood games, what games are you going back to? Tell me, Sega
So
Genesis games?
no, even further, maybe a little earlier, but
Uh,
I'm going I'm going back to the Game Boy games, specifically Pokemon.
what?
So I'm starting off with Pokemon Yellow and doing this catch 'em all series where I'm essentially just walking through what a 10-year-old me was thinking as I was playing through these games and just encouraging other people to do the same. Because I learned that we become our happiest once we revisit our own like childhood interests and childhood
Hmm.
dreams and everything.
Dude, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. So I consider myself a gamer. I don't really know what the definition of a gamer is. Like I play video games.
That's all it is. You're a gamer.
Yeah.
Boom.
And Xbox, been an Xbox person, Xbox or die for like, I don't know, my entire life. I think I dabbled with PlayStation, but I did start with computers. Like my very first computer was a Radio Shack TRS-80. Monochrome monitor, keyboard was attached to the monitor, green and black. And I remember playing games on, back then there was a thing called a BBS, broadcast bulletin board, and they would have these games where it was all text. It was basically like a choose your own adventure. It's like you enter a room, it's dark, there's a lamp in the northeast corner. There are two doors, basically like what door do you want to pick? Like press 1 for the left door, 2 for the right door. Like these are the games I grew up with. When like, the Sega came out and then the Nintendo, we eventually, were able to buy them. And I think the very first color game I ever played was like Donkey Kong and on Nintendo. And it was pretty phenomenal. And ever since I was kind of hooked. In my adult life, I like playing video games because it's the only place that I can just focus and dedicate and
Yes.
not think about like politics or like work or anything like that.
Yes.
Which I want to get back to a little bit later, but I'm curious, like, what do you see in gaming that's reflective of sort of the broader cultural things that are in the news, or do you at all?
The depends on what games you're looking at. So I played a lot of Call of Duty, and Call of Duty, if you played any of the campaigns, which I'm sure one of y'all dabbled in it throughout the time, they seem to be very fictional, but at the same time, it kind of creeps you out as to how close they get. Perfect example, Black Ops 2 comes out 2012. The story is set around 2025, but it has a lot of the same themes of what was happening now. And people were like I
That's
forgot
crazy.
exactly what exact moment in history happened like a few weeks ago because we're living in history really. Like everything that's happening now is going to be in the history books later when our grandkids or whoever are like looking at school and stuff. Once you like replay that campaign and kind of see the stories and everything there, because you have like presidents, you have political parties, you have all these affiliations that are going through history within the game. And it's crazy how connected it is to what's happening now. But I will say with everything else, it's more so the people that are around the gaming community that can affect a lot of the political identities that are happening within the game, looking for representation and all these other things. And there's a lot of I've seen personally a lot of games getting canceled per se because of certain views pivoting one way and another. And
Really?
I'd say it's more so a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is what causes a lot of the shifts and stuff, not so much the content within the games. Possibly, I
Yeah,
don't know if that
that's
makes sense.
excuse me, it does make sense. And it makes me think like, we're all people and we're all like people, like when gamers are coming together, right? Online, it's all just a bunch of people coming
Yeah,
together, right? Playing these games. And I know that that's not like some profound point there, but the deeper point is that we obviously bring all the bias and all the, the desires, the ways that we want the culture to be, how we view, the ideal world, and all that. And we bring it together and we bring it into this gaming virtual world. What was it? Will, he showed me a couple times, like, just like in one of the games that you can build, and it's like all this like political messaging, or like F Trump was one of them, I'm pretty sure. And then another one was like, something about ICE, and, some really like racist thing about immigrants, and all over. Hey, dude.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is, dude. And so here we have, dude, like, so is this common? And then there's hope, like these kinds of things. Like, what do you think? And I know you're not these gamers, but why do you think people are doing that? And like, what would motivate you to ever like put that kind of stuff into a game for other people?
Well, I'm trying to phrase this without like pissing at either side off. You know what I'm saying? I to kind of start this off, I consider myself like kind of in the middle, not crazy one side or the other. But
I hear that.
so a lot of these things, obviously, these are like user generated. This is not put in by the game itself, because that's from Fallout 76, right, Will? So that's those are people that are building their own bases and things like that. In Call of Duty or different games like that, you'll see emblems, names that pertain to a person's bias or what they're pushing for or what echo chamber they're kind of screaming from. A lot of it, I would say, is probably for attention. Mostly, they want the negative attention, and I will say this all the time, because I'll get into a lobby, for example, and somebody will scream out Trump 2028, and I'll ask them, okay, why do you feel that way?
Really?
N-word, N-word. That's all they have to say. Like there's no thought behind it. They just want the attention. They just want to say, I pissed this guy off. That's pretty much it, honestly. Like, in a nutshell, I wish I had a more profound thought behind that, but seeing a lot of the people that I've played against, played with, and it's been thousands at this point, they all share the same, where they just want to kind of spew something out, get the attention for that little bit. And then once you ask them to kind of dive a little deeper, "Oh, I don't know, I saw my friend did it, so I wanted to talk about that too." Or usually they just kind of follow the herd.
So like when you're in the lobby and you're hearing people talk, like you engage them and
Yeah,
say, hey,
I mean,
so what's
you can
go ahead.
choose to. I'm sorry. You can choose to engage them if you want to. Half the time I'm muted unless I see something and I'm like, okay, why do we feel the need to do this? And a lot of the actual moderations and stuff have gotten a lot stronger. But as you can see, they allow certain things to go through, and they don't allow other things to come through. Like, I'm sure, it's probably hard to find someone that's for Trump on these games, but it's easier to find them against. That's just a theory, though. It's just a theory. So you can kind of notice that bias happening within the game itself. And I know another example that kind of came into my head, and it kind of helps connect with the faithful stuff too. Call of Duty, for example, sells a lot of bundles. They sell a lot of skins and a lot of different things that you can buy. And recently, it's been a lot that had to do with like very demonic creatures.
Really?
Demonic creatures like skull and bones, and like demons and vampires and things like that. Marijuana everywhere, yada yada. But there's never anything that's like religious. On the good side, we would say, like there's never anything that's positive. And it kind of makes you wonder the same way, not saying that we're demonizing one side or kind of pushing up the other. It's like, who's allowing these things to get into the game? Like, why is one side preferred and the other isn't? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of awkward to see when something like that happens, especially in the gaming space where you want everyone to be included, but you don't want to be too inclusive to leave everyone else out.
That's interesting you should say that, because yeah, I mean, Fallout 76 is my jam. It's kind of my go-to game, just because I can turn my brain off and play. But what's weird about it is that, so like, you can build camps, you can build these settlements, and it's almost like I try to tell people like Fallout 76 is like Fortnite for old people in the sense, and it's like a mix between SimCity, and Fortnite, but they give you a lot of options that you can customize your camps. And one of the optimization things they give you is flags, so you can put flags at your camp. Most of the flags are either content specific, like talking about some of the factions that are in the game, or they are very LGBTQ friendly. I mean, they've got these different flags for all kinds of, if you're pansexual or whatever the case may be, which, I mean, I'm a progressive. So it's like, I generally don't have any issues with any of that kind of stuff. But kind of to your point, it's like, you don't see any appeals to heaven flags or don't tread on me flags, or like other flags that may be representative of the demographic of people. Clearly, like you all just saw the screenshots, so I wouldn't say it would be nice to see that, but it's almost like, either all like be inclusive to all,
Yeah.
or not. And but to your point about like the religious symbols and stuff not necessarily being represented, would that be something that you think would be a good thing to like have like Christianity be represented in a space, where, Call of Duty, for instance, where the object is to basically, kill everybody on the other team?
So not necessarily, and as you were kind of talking a bit more and kind of explaining a bit more, the gears started turning in my head too. Like it's it's not more so that we want to see it in there. It's more so like, why is this being pushed so much? Why are we being pushed to purchase these? And obviously this is totally optional. You don't have to spend $25 on these skins or whatever. But why is this the main option? Why can't we
Right.
pivot towards like, oh, let's have aliens or let's have like modern combat warriors or something like that? Why does it all have to be Archangel X or the Demonstress I or whatever it is? You know what I'm saying? And obviously, like if you have a Christian hero, for example, or like a Muslim hero or wherever it is that's purchasable, that can lead the people that are against religion to be like, oh, you see, Christians all they want to do is fight. You see the perfect example right here. They added it in Call of Duty. Well, there's 20 demons that you can buy. You know what I'm saying? Like this one Christian thing would trump all 20 demons just because this is my example right here. This is why I'm the way that I am. So in terms of that, I don't think no, we don't necessarily want that because it'll send the wrong message. But it would be nice at least to have at least 10 less of those demon ones. You know?
That makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, so this is interesting. I was looking up just like the intersection of faith or gaming and politics. And we using Chadwick. That's what we call ChatGPT.
Chadwick.
That's like that's our friend. That's
That's a
from
good
Will,
name.
but I like it, Chadwick. But apparently, so Saudi Arabia just poured 38 billion. I don't know if you heard this, into a national gaming and esports strategy. $38 billion, aiming to be a global hub by 2030. Saudi Arabia. When you think about this, now I'm saying that I don't think anything's up with, like, I'm not trying to say anything about Saudi Arabia, but what I'm imagining is like, let's say like they wanted to do one in Tehran, Iran, right? Which we're kind of in conflict right now, right? Or maybe let's say it was in Pyongyang, North Korea. Now they won't let these games into North Korea, as far as I know. But let's just say my point is like, what if like these gaming hubs and like is there any place where you think the gaming community would say, no, we can't be associated with that because of its government, because of, I don't know, genocide or some kind of major world negative, like political event, a war, or whatever? How much does that affect the gaming community, do you think, things like that? Or do they just, in general, do you think people just don't think about it? Wherever has the money, wherever has the opportunity, that's where I'm going to go.
As unfortunate as it is, whatever has the money, that's where the opportunity goes. And also, it's cool to hate the U.S. It's cool to hate the established nations.
Really?
It's cool to be against the system if you're younger, Gen Z, you know, like you don't want to follow what everyone else is following because you want to cater to the world, or you want to be part of what the world does. It's why there's so many different people flying 20 different flags to help. Like, oh, there's a thing in Ukraine. I'll put my Ukraine flag up. Oh, let me change this up. I saw this person. They posted this picture where they had like 6 different flags on their poach, just like trying to represent every single side of everything. And it's like, okay, like if you represent them all, you don't represent any. Like, so to kind of pivot back to my point, yes, these kids will, and I'm mainly thinking Gen Zers and younger because they're very malleable and they live in a world where they see all this content, they see all this gaming, they see all these things kind of pushed to them at a rapid pace, and they can just flip into from one video to another, and they can be radicalized very easily. They could say, oh, Saudi Arabia is building the space. I can make a lot of money by playing Call of Duty, by doing these things, or playing whatever game it is. I don't care if it's this country that's paying for it. I care that I'm making the money. It's not affecting anybody else. My friends are doing it too. Like it's fine. That's so if you think about it, and it kind of connects. I'm getting to the point to kind of connect it all and circle it back. But it's kind of like the new online peer pressure. Like, hey, you need to follow this, otherwise, like you'll be canceled and we won't be friends with you. Like you won't be part of our group. Like this is the way that it is. Oh, no, to answer your question, no, people wouldn't care.
They go where the money and
Yeah.
opportunity is.
Yeah, they go where the money and opportunity is. They go because the cool thing is to be disliked. The cool thing is to be on the wrong side, especially if you don't have a big platform, if you don't care about getting platformed or having a big audience. I'll be on the other side. Once you get the big audience, you want to say everything you can to keep it. But obviously you also don't want to sway too hard one way or the other. So that person with the larger audience, hey guys, maybe let's not do Saudi Arabia. Oh, you don't want us to do it because you have the money already. Actually, no, it's because of these bad ideas. No. It's because you have the money. You don't want us to do it.
Yeah. I'm curious about, Christian connected games. So there was a game that I read about, came out in 2023 actually, but it's called I Am Jesus Christ. It's available to play on Steam. Have you ever played it?
I have not. That's my first time hearing of it.
I am Jesus Christ.
I am Jesus Christ. Yes. And I have not played it because I'm not quite sure how I would handle it. I mean, in my mind, like a fun video game about Jesus Christ would be like, this is like Jesus Unleashed, like we all know Jesus has power, but like what kind of power? So like in my mind,
shooting like, like freaking
water, or he's shooting wine from his fingers.
He's shooting wine from his fingers, electricity shooting at. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
So I'd love to get your thoughts on, like what are the potential pros and cons of having a game about, the central figure to one of the largest religions on the planet. I know you haven't played it, but as a Christian, as a person that games, like, what are some of the things that would go through your mind about, man, like I hope they didn't do this, but I hope they did do that.
I think personally for me would be good for me to see like just this. I'm a very visual person, and I don't know if you guys watched King of Kings, but I'm on like my second or third read through of the Bible, so kind of watching it visually like made me like tear up. I wanted to cry so many times because I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is like what I read about. Like it's so crazy to see it. So for me, it would be crazy to just play through it. I might actually buy it and just play through it just to see it. Just so, because from what it sounds like, it looks like they're literally going through verse by verse and kind of replaying the entire story. So it's interesting to see it from his perspective. Obviously, you're having to add on content that might not be directly tied into the Bible, just kind of like interpretation.
Yes.
To be able to kind of further the story and everything.
You should live stream it if you play it.
I could like
totally
record something on it.
I mean, honestly, I really love what you're saying because it's like it gives you this opportunity to enter into a world that you wouldn't be able to enter into otherwise and have some kind of interactive like possibility in that world.
Yeah.
I remember when I first did like Odyssey. I remember you and I would talk about that a little bit, Stewart, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I remember looking at it and then the way that it made you, and actually Origins, Assassin's Creed Origins, where it brought you into Egypt and the Egyptian mythology. And like there's a scene there where like you die and then you have to fight like the big snake that's supposed to eat your heart, you know, in Egypt. Like it's crazy. Like you're in this worldview of like this, like you're able to go interact with all sorts of stuff and go to these cities. I mean, that's what I loved about the Assassin's Creed, like this ability to almost live in the past and to interact with it. And I absolutely love that. And it also brings like a really well, let me just stop there before I go into the maybe the more controversial and negative. Like, how do you like, what do you think about that thought that the video games give you a new world to like kind of live in? And like, do you see that as a really positive thing or do you have any issues with it?
No, I see it as a positive thing. And I think the only negative that could come out of something like this is people's own interpretation and own like content around it. Like if there's somebody, like it'd be easy for somebody to be like, "Hey, I'm Jesus. I'm out here doing something stupid in the game." I don't know, but and it could be something that wasn't even meant for the game to do. It's just them like, "Oh, let me go into this water and poison it or get it." I don't know, something stupid. I'm sure it won't allow it, but obviously you can't get mad at that specific person because they're just doing it from their own free will. But I think what's interesting about that is even a game like that, I could see, and I'm sure you guys have ran into this too. I can see some people saying, "Oh, this is disrespectful to Jesus." Like I don't like that he's in a video game. Like I think video games are childish. I don't think that this is a real hobby. I don't think this is a respectful way to represent Jesus. You know, like I could see people getting pissed off like for that game, really, in my opinion, for no reason.
But you don't, so you don't think that at all. So maybe dig into why don't you like, why do you feel that way? I guess that
Well,
it's okay.
it's no different than Passion of the Christ or a movie or a show or anything like that. It's just a different medium to bring out a story. That's all we see video games as. And there's certain stories I've played through in games. There's certain stories I've watched in animes and things like that. That if they were live action Netflix series, the world would eat it up. If this game was a live action Netflix series, I promise you, everyone would be talking about it all over social media. But because of the medium that it's coming out on, people are gonna just put it down and say, it's not worth my time because I don't really play video games. That's childish.
Yeah, dude. I totally hear that. There's so many things, excuse me, sorry. There's so many things that are coming to my mind. Like how I've seen like this trend of video games becoming movies now and like series and all this stuff. And it did feel kind of weird, like as opposed to a book becoming a series, a video game. But when you think about it, the amount of writing, the amount of like screenwriting, the amount of things that go into cutscenes, bringing this story to life. I mean, it's very much like a movie, is my guess in that sense, that creative process. You're telling a story. And I love that. That's so fascinating to me. I don't know, Will, do you have any thoughts on that?
No.
None. Zero. Will get right to the point. So, okay. So here's a question. So I'll read this to you. Visa and MasterCard recently pressured stores like Stream and itch.io, which just shows you my ignorance. I don't even know what itch.io is. I've heard of Stream or Steam.
Steam. Yeah, Steam.
See, that even shows you how bad. Okay. To delist hundreds of adult or LGBTQ themed indie titles. So, question is, does that kind of private sector censorship worry you more or less than government bans or just anything you want to say about that idea that they're censoring it? I guess the broader question is there anything that is like, is there anything so taboo that video games shouldn't represent it?
Well, I did see an article. I think it might have been that same article. And some of the games that people talked about on X, I hate that name, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. Some of the games that people talked about on that site, like why is this made? Like I think there was like I don't know if I can say this word, but I'll say a grape simulator or something like that. That was like VR. Like why is that even a thing? Like why is that a game that you can purchase? Who decided to program this game? And I think anything, and we're gonna sound like the older Christian dads that don't want our kids to play certain things, but like anything that's like super sexualized, like we don't need to have that. We don't need to have that as a game. That's anything pornographic like that. It's just not. It's not worth even owning or purchasing or anything like stuff like that. I mean, it hurts the free market because you are essentially banning content. But at the same time, like, why do we need this content? So it's like that moral tug of war kind of thing. Like, do we care enough to keep it in the market, and do we want to remove it? And then how? I
Yes.
guess I guess like how long will this leash be that will just ban anything that we don't like? I don't know. I don't know because it could cause a lot of issues down the line if you start banning every single thing. But then again, like, why do we need it?
Exactly. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I am curious.
I was going to ask what you thought, Will.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you think of about two stories that I know I read. One of them we brought in a reporter from one of these news outlets that had talked about Roblox potentially being a platform that is used to like recruit neo-Nazis. And then another report
Indeed.
I read, this is just recently, where they're considering turning Roblox, or at least or having some sort of ability on Roblox where people can like date, or at least like they can meet each other. So I'm obviously none of this stuff happens without some sort of funding or backing or an awareness by the programmers. So like what's your take on the industry's push to kind of allow these things? Or I shouldn't say push is probably the wrong verb, but what's your understanding of these gaming companies to allow this kind of stuff to happen? Like what's the market? Like are they intentionally sort of catering, or is this just just kind of how gaming is now, and now parents have to watch their kids a lot more closely?
Yeah, this is kind of the way that game has been going towards, and I think it's something that started again with the pandemic. Everyone's being locked up, and they found ways to just build communities online that they could connect with. And it's either happening in game, as you see with because Roblox is what they call a sandbox game because there's a lot of different types of mini games you can get into it. And yeah, there's recruiting of all kinds of things there because it depends on what game you're playing and what mini game was sect and everything. Then you get invited into a group or clan and kind of go from there. And again, children very malleable. They see someone who they think it's cool. They're gonna kind of like copy everything they're doing. Say, oh yeah, I'll join whatever this organization is, and not have a clue what it is. But a lot of this has been happening with Discord too. So like people will create Discord groups, and Discord groups aren't moderated as hard as other gaming groups had, as far as I believe, because anybody can go to Discord. And that's just messaging platform. You could voice chat, you could stream your own content and stuff on it. And there's hundreds of thousands of groups there that you can do. And I don't think it's necessarily that they're monetizing that same behavior that happened in these games. They're just giving you a space to create your groups. And all they're paying for in programming is, hey, these are the abilities we have. If you as the user have the ability to create this group and kind of cater it to how you want to cater it, we won't do anything with it unless it starts becoming a problem with people reporting it. So to your point, yes, it's something that us parents need to be at least aware of because Roblox, big sandbox game, Fortnite's turning into a big sandbox game too, where same way you could have your groups have different little mini games, meet different people on there, and you never know what's online nowadays.
Yeah, I'd love to also get your thoughts on like game ratings, which is something I've never really paid that close attention to until I had kids, where my oldest will look at game ratings and be like, oh, this is for 13-year-olds and I'm going to be 13 3 months. So I'll be able to play it. Generally, the way the conversation goes with my kids, it's like, what's the game? I'll do a little research and then I'll have a conversation with them and be like, I think you could play this even though you're not 13 because I think you're mature enough. Oh, but then this other game that's like rated for under 13, I'm like, I don't want you playing this game because it's got a lot of content and stuff. So how do you kind of work through sort of the age requirements, especially like with your own kids, if your kids play games? Like, how do you sort of make that determination on like what they can and can't play?
That's a great question because even if something, so I think something like Fortnite is rated T, but I know plenty of 7 8 year olds that play Fortnite, and the whole idea is like taking out other teams, and there's no real bloods, no real gory stuff to it. And from a gamer perspective, if you look at something like Call of Duty, you have real life guns, real life kind of like people or looking people. If you're comparing apples to apples, Fortnite to Call of Duty, how different is the game mechanics? How different is everything? So, but one's rated R or M, one's rated T. I remember as a kid being 13 playing Grand Theft Auto, Vice City,
Yes.
and the first time I picked up a bat and I hit a pedestrian, I was like, "Whoa, wait, why can I do this right now?" Didn't
Like you can
change.
do anything.
You can do anything. It didn't change who I am whatsoever. Now I understand I have a responsibility as a parent to just be like, hey, probably for me, parents don't follow my advice because this is just me and just who I am. Probably for me, I would allow them to play it if I'm around. Like I wouldn't let them play it without me because I want to be able to just explain like this is happening here, this is why this is happening there. The moment you kind of let them explore by themselves and make up their own narratives and stuff, they'll create ideas of why certain things can work in the world when they might be completely incorrect. And it's our job to guide them.
It's so funny, man. So I got in a couple, let's call them little tiffs with my wife over this issue with my son. So my son is always going to push the boundaries, and he loves my son and Will's son play Roblox all the time. But like a while ago, like Malachi, I would let him play like on Call of Duty, like my mobile, Call of Duty mobile. I would
Mhm.
let him play that a little bit. It's not as bloody as, the norm, like Xbox Call of Duty, like it, I don't know. I just am not as sensitive to it. And then even when he was even younger, I would let him play Assassin's Creed. I would turn the blood off. I would turn everything off. And then I'd let him play while I was sitting there, right? Mostly. But then sometimes he would play that's why it was the problem. He would play like at other points, but most of the time I was with him, and because it's fun. He can go around, he can climb stuff, he can go. And these games that are built for adults, they're just better than the games that are built for the kids. They're better. They're more fun. You can do more stuff. You can interact with more things. They're just better games. And like just this conflict that was there when I was like, hey, it's okay. I'm there. I'm watching him. I can guide him, whatever. And then, like, the worry, the fear that, oh, this violence is going to make them violent or make people violent. That's, what you would hear about video games. That video game violence is going to make our nation more violent. And I'm sure that is a very contested idea. I know that I have, seen it, and I don't even know if that's, yeah, I don't know how it affects us. I truly don't. I don't seem to think that things are more violent. I don't necessarily think they are. I think we're aware of violence a lot more, but I don't know. But again, all that can be tested. But you think about the risks of video games, right? That's kind of like where all of this is kind of going around. Like, what are they? What are the risks of them? And I'm curious. So here's a Twitch policy, and it says that Twitch, in some updates, they banned certain slurs and label harmful information actors. even in political streams, they're trying to say this protects community safety, but critics are like, hey, this is vague and this is unevenly enforced, these policies. What do you think about this ban on slurs and harmful misinformation actors? Like, should these companies be banning people from in free speech issues? Is the place a place where we can supposed to be able to speak freely in the online world on these games?
You see, and I think that's the issue that a lot of these companies are wrestling with now, because they they're there's such polarizing issues that are going on in this world, and there's all of these groups that are marginalized groups that are looking for their own like safe corners to be in, safe places to be in. And Twitch over the last 5 years or so has become something like that. And it became so regulated, as you see with things like that, that another website, Kick, came out. And Kick is seen as like the alt-right breeding grounds because they allow all kinds of stuff. They
Really?
allow all kinds of like free speech, violence. They allow all kinds of stuff that Twitch doesn't allow on there. In a sense, TikTok has sort of the same moderations as well, and they do it to kind of protect the communities online. But I have gotten banned off of TikTok streams without anything that I've done personally. Like I could have read
Really?
a comment. I could have read a comment. Oh, this person said I'm a fat N word, for example. I'm the one saying it, and I get banned. I'm reading a comment. So it depends on how these policies are being policed, and half of the time they're being policed by AI, and AI is just black or white. It's
Right.
not fair. It's not fair at all. Yes, it is kind of straining our or restraining our freedom of speech. It is now not allowing us to fully speak to our full desire. But the other thing you have to think about is there's a term called clip farming, and clip farming is when streamers literally go on stream and just do things, outrageous things, just to get a clip for other people to post it out. And by having measures like this, where you're not allowing certain terms to be said, if you're not allowing certain, hey, go for X party or go for this specific issue that's happening across the world that I know nothing about, but go for that. You don't want that to be clipped and be sent out to the internet, go viral, and then push other people to say, hey, this is this is the platform I should be about. This is what I should be on because my favorite streamer said so. And so that's what they're trying to avoid. And on the business side, I understand it completely because that can bring a lot of litigation, that can bring a lot of issues back to the company. On a personal side, yes, it is a restriction on our own free speech, but then you don't want a clip taken out of context to spin the whole narrative on a bigger
Yes.
issue. So same thing. It seems like a lot of the issues we've talked about today, I'm sorry, it's terrible, but we need it.
It's all good.
And this is one of those things because sure, I don't want to be on a stream where the guy's throwing out every slur in the world just because he can, just because of freedom of speech. Because if you go into school, if you go into any building, if you go into work, your freedom of speech is restricted, right? It has to be restricted just so you can respect others. What different is it from you creating your own personal space and having people come in from all different walks of life that you can kind of give the same respect?
Yeah, my last question for you is faith adjacent, where like how you make decisions in video games and how much that affects or how much of that is grounded in your own personal faith. And I'll give you just an example just for context. So the main games I play are generally role-playing games. I play Call of Duty, just the campaign, not the PvP, because I get crushed. Which, funny story about Call of Duty, because I've been playing it since, I don't know how long, but I remember when I was in the Army, and mind you, I was in the infantry, me and a bunch of my battle buddies, when we were in the barracks, used to set up like these Ethernet cables, and we would try to do like this like team, PvP, like a bunch of infantry guys that are used to clearing and breaching and clearing rooms and play against other people on Call of Duty. So the first time we did it, we thought, oh yeah, look, we're a bunch of like hardcore infantry guys. We should be able to cream these people. And we just get demolished, by these like teenagers that are just like have no concept of safety. Like
preserving ammo.
Yeah, like we go into these things and it's just like, okay, you're going to be the number 1 guy, you're going to be the number 2 guy. Okay, don't forget to take your corner, make sure you have overlapping sectors of fire. Like in our minds, we're doing all the things that we were trained to do, and they don't work in Call of Duty. Anyways, that was a tangent. But in role playing games, like whether it's Fallout or Skyrim or Cyberpunk or whatever, like you play as a character. And the decisions you make in this world will affect sort of the ending or the ultimate outcome. Most people I know that play RPGs, play like as the good guy. But some of these games actually give you the ability to be like the bad guy and play the game as a bad guy. And I've never done that. And I've also often wondered, like, why don't I ever play the bad guy? Why don't I just indiscriminately shoot, these NPCs that are not real? Like in this world, even though I've got this bazooka that I'm walking around the city in, like why don't I shoot them? And I would venture to guess I don't do that because of my Christian faith. As weird as that sounds, like I don't want to be a different person in the game than I am in the real world. But I love to kind of just get your take. Like, how much does your own Christian faith affect the decisions and choices that you make when you're gaming?
No, I agree. That makes total sense because I'm the same way. And one of the games I can think of right away is I think one of the Star Wars games where it's RPG and you can go either the good or the bad way. Like you go like the Sith Lord, or like you go to just good old Jedi. Say like I believe in karma. Like even if it's just a video game, like man, what if I went and like ordered 66 these kids and and that comes back to me in the real world because a thought is a thought no matter what the medium is coming out of, right? So if you do this in a video game, how different is it from you like cutting someone off in traffic and hurting their vehicle or something just because I'm the Sith Lord in Star Wars? I could do this in real life too. I never really played as the bad person either, just because same way Will, like I just don't feel the need to do that, and I just believe in karma.
Yeah,
I don't want the bad karma.
I will say if I could have unfettered access to data anywhere in the country, I'd want the data on every RPG game, because like you would get an insight on how people think and how people make decisions, what people do in periods of conflict. I mean, I don't know why sociologists aren't asking for this data like left and right, because I mean, like you've got decision-making processes, that individuals are making at scale that you could probably do some pretty significant like human engineering if you were evil enough. But that's doubt.
I totally hear that. You've just given someone listening to this like the perfect idea, Will, and now that's going to basically butterfly effect into the end of the world. And
Well,
I just want you to know that.
I carefully made that statement at about 10 minutes to the end of the show, because the metrics show that the majority of our audience don't get to this point. So for the dedicated terrorists out there that are listening to this, you're welcome.
You have earned. Wait, no, you haven't earned it. Wait, I'm going to stop there. That's good, man. Go ahead, Stu.
If you want to know how to take over the world, make sure you listen to this whole video.
And if you like and subscribe, then something really good will happen to you.
You'll get something really good.
Have you seen these stupid videos, by the way? My son watches these shorts all the time.
Oh
and he's like, by the way, if you like it, then a spider won't crawl into your mouth tonight, or something like ridiculous. And I'm like, Malachi, why are you watching this? Like, this is absurd. He's like, I know it's fake. But then he's like really scared when he's sitting in his bed. It's like, dude, you don't know it's fake, dude. There's so much fake news out there, bro. And actually, this is like piggybacking on that. Like, what do you imagine going forward? Like, just like stream of consciousness, dude, whatever's coming to your mind. What do you imagine are the biggest risks in gaming going forward? like negative impact maybe on our society? And where do you see a lot of hope in the gaming industry?
So it seems like the gaming industry as a whole, it's kind of going with the times. I think the only issue I can foresee is if somebody kind of goes back to old games and starts playing old games and seeing like old ideals and stuff, much like you're seeing the movies now. Like, hey, whatever opinions or lines mentioned in this movie don't appeal to our current bias, and we're sorry if they affect certain yada yada. So companies are taking more of an approach to be a bit more civil when it comes to their own game content. The problem is with a lot of the microtransactions that are happening, like now you're not getting the same bang for your buck with games like you used to. But from a civil obedience, faithful standpoint, it's going to a more positive light, thanks in part to the different hiring of different developers that are going into the game with different worldviews, and they're not just the same specific type of person that are making each game moving forward. Really, the difference comes in this creator economy that we have a lot of content creators that dictate how popular a game becomes, and that's more of where the market is going, is the creators themselves. The creators are making or breaking a lot of these games, and there's companies that are paying thousands of dollars to push games towards the creators so they can play it, showcase it to their viewers, and they flop or make it from that point. So if anything, we should be looking at the creators, not so much the actual developers nowadays.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dude, I think that's profound right there.
it's a big marketing machine that people don't think about.
Huge marketing machine. A huge marketing machine. So, dude, what's next for your content creation adventures? Kind of sell yourself here for any of our listeners. We're gonna put links and all that. Give your handle, all that stuff. Like, and what are you working on? What are you moving towards?
So handles Tainoztv, Tainoztv on all platforms, Tainoztv on YouTube. I am right now just working on it's more kind of intertwining like my own faith and kind of personal development that I've been going through the last year or two, and just urging people to follow their, I call it, I read, what's the book? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the book. I read this book, talks about people's personal legends and how God gave us each a personal legend to find and pursue. And we forget about our personal legend as we are growing and go through all these distractions and stuff. So my job is to awaken people's personal legends. And I'm doing that through gaming. I'm doing that through reminding people what their first love was before all of the world came to their doorstep. And so that's what I'll be working on. And we're starting off with Pokemon.
Dude, that's freaking awesome, dude. I actually really, really like that. Dude, thanks so much for coming on, joining, and spending some time with us, dude. Actually, this is like a super enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, thank you
Sometimes
guys.
they're, most of the time they're good, but sometimes they're kind of hard to get through.
And the book was The Alchemist, by the way.
The Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
Nice.
That book changed my life, man. I was like, man, I saw myself so much in that guy.
Yes, dude, that's amazing. I'm going to have to check that out. So, but dude, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on, spending some time with us and giving us your insight, dude. It was a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And to our viewers, guys, thanks for joining. Make sure that you're going and checking out Stu's work. We're going to put all those links in the notes and the description of the show. So make sure you go and check all that out. And until next time, guys, take care and God bless. See you then.